Yeah, it's ready now.
Okay, good. All
Okay.
right.
Dear folks of Baba, as I mentioned in the last email, I thought to have a second session on the topic we just had, how our life with Baba was in the early years and where we find ourselves today. Only a few of you had the opportunity to share, and I find it so interesting how Baba has worked in us over the years to bring us to where we are now. In thinking about my own life, I find that so many different themes have emerged, so many aspects of my relationship with Baba that have unfolded over the years, and just one of them could easily make for a substantial check in. Several examples of these aspects you might consider: your inner relationship with Baba, how you remember him during the day, your efforts in bringing him into your work, your struggles with overcoming weaknesses, how your relationship with others has changed, the evolution of your self esteem and self compassion, the increasing gratefulness over the years, the development of your intuition and receptivity to grace. There are so many aspects of how Baba has entered our lives. In our session 2 weeks ago, I found it very touching and engaging to hear how beautifully some of you shared the evolution of your relationship with Baba from the early days up to the present. I find it so helpful in my own life to hear how others experience Baba. I realize that this sharing may be very personal and intimate, and yet hearing from each other can really expand and deepen our view of who Baba is. As I've written before, when Eruch was asked how we could keep Baba from becoming a religion, he said, if his lovers would get together in small groups and share their mystical experiences, it could be averted. He said that in 1970. And I think that today he would have used the term sharing our inner experiences of Baba. How can you make a religion out of so many uniquely different approaches to Baba? Kitty Davy once asked by a reporter from the Charlotte Observer, is Baba a cult? In her proper and very rapid British accent, she replied, oh, no, no, no. You could never get two Baba lovers to agree on anything. In his love, Jeff.
Yeah, good. Over the years, I've gotten beautiful emails that people have sent about their appreciation. People that aren't able to attend the live sessions, but they listen to the recordings, and I've heard directly from people. But I want to read part of one of these. Uh, I haven't asked her permission, but I will read what she said. I really miss being a part of the Zoom sessions, but unfortunately, it is too late at night. I love listening to you and the others in your talks. I know most of the people don't know. I just wanted to express my gratitude for the talks. I feel like I know the people so well now. And I feel through your Zoom sessions, Baba always answers my deepest queries and questions and has helped me tremendously. Life is not easy, but listening to the Baba Zoom chats, especially these, have have helped me tremendously. I miss seeing you and talking to you, but I feel like when I listen to you guys, Baba is directly talking to me through you. So I'm still very much connected to you guys. So I thought that was very sweet. I mean, I do hear from people. They, they kind of they kind of know it's like a sitcom characters or something like that. You know, in India they'll say, well, I mean, they'll say, well, we like Tony Paternetti. There's no males over here like Tony Paternetti. So expressive feelings. So it's beautiful, and they know all of you, but not that you want to be acknowledged, but it means a lot to people. So, oh wait, hey, I've disappeared here. Let me
Yeah.
just. Oh, there I am. Yeah. Um, I'm trying to. I can't seem to get this on. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry here. Now, anybody want to venture out into the wild blue yonder? Hey, I have disappeared somehow.
Tony?
Oh, Baba. Well,
As I said, there he is. Just in
wow.
time for me to express some male emotions.
Yeah.
um, I guess I want to just what's coming to mind. I have not mentioned this to anyone. I did kind of tell Zeke briefly, but in the early years, I had the first few years, especially, I had so many dreams of Baba, and some of them were, they were all unique and different. And Baba was clearly present, as he said, "When you dream of me, it's not a dream, but a vision." Um, and when I was, for those who heard my story during the 303 thing, there were where Baba would appear. One time I said to him, "Baba, what is?" It was a darshan, and I asked him a question, "Baba, what is 303?" And he just gave me this really peculiar look. But there were so many dreams over those years, and that kind of tapered off. And what's been happening in the last few years is having, um, Baba said, I can appear to my lovers, I can appear to 1,000 people at the same time. It's no problem for me. And in the last few years, I have had experiences that, mostly in retrospect, if even only by like 5 minutes, where I feel it was Baba that came in that person, came into my life for that particular exchange. And it was actually literally Baba. That's new. And I guess the newest, who's that? And then I suppose the newest thing is, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by this, some background sounds coming from somewhere. Um, the newest thing was quite unusual. Um, in a half asleep state, where you'll sometimes have a little bit of a dream or a glimpse of something. You're kind of halfway between astral or waking and sleeping. And for just a split second, out of the blue, I saw Baba in the hospital bed in Prague. And it was from a bit of a distance. And also then someone who I thought was Meru, but someone said Meru, and I said, no, Meru wasn't injured. And I'm thinking it was Mera, but she was far enough away that I couldn't see. But definitely seeing Baba and that's it. And no other energy connected with it except, I wanted you to see this. Like that, the kind of feeling. It wasn't intense, it wasn't heavy, but it was a sense of seeing Baba on the purely mortal side of experiencing that kind of major accident, an assault on his physical body. So that's one thing that's really different. That's those sort of things. Um, I'm much more aware of ego getting in the way of things by thinking it knows what to do, and getting so wrapped up in its little storylines, and anything to distract from relying on Baba to ask him to help me to be loving, more loving in my thoughts, words, actions. That I'm conscious that it really depends on me saying, Baba, help me to help people in my life, love, through love, to think with love, to act with, to and he does touch me deeply at times, but I'm so aware of that I'm not yet really walking the walk. I mean, in many ways, but the ego is like really very vigilant. and this is something I'm very conscious of, is very, very vigilant to uh, to get in the way. The other thing is marriage is an amazing ashram because it's meant over and over brought me where like inexplicable hurts or arguments or whatever, and where I can only go to Baba and recognize that it's not enough to say, help me in this situation, but help me to change so that I'm coming from the real self and that my actions are as loving as yours might be in this situation, which the ego thinks is a really arrogant thing to say. But I think that's really what it comes down to ask his help to be as loving as he would in any particular situation, and consistently. So that's a big shift from over the years. That's fairly new. Thank you, Jay Baba.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah. Anybody else want to venture out with a before and after, or a, as I say, it's hard to even isolate what, just even one aspect of your life with Baba, and you could talk for a while, but oh, good.
Dina?
Yes, I have to pin myself because it doesn't do it automatically. Um, I remember thinking I was in such a state of ecstasy and bliss. I thought to myself in the early days, I'll never be unhappy again. Little did I know he was going to destroy my life. I'm just trying to hold on.
So the honeymoon came to an end, and
Yes,
you hit the terra firma once
yes.
again. But you find though that you do feel there's a purpose behind this whole thing, which you
I don't know, Jeff. I don't
oh,
really know.
uh-huh.
I just keep showing up here,
That's good. No, there are a
hoping
lot of
to
people in
get
your
some.
situation. What's that?
I'm hoping to get some spiritual wisdom.
Yeah. Well, hang out in the tomb there like you are, and it'll you'll absorb it, imbibe it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll come up with something that's helpful here.
Rich.
Well, I'm a little flat this week. Um, I'm trying to put my mind on some outer activities in the yard and whatnot. So whenever I start working physically, it's hard for me to remember Baba, especially with cold weather and Baba pain at my age. But I love what Tina said. Just makes me laugh. I mean, joyfully laugh, joyfully, not at her, but with her. It's like, you know, you just can't expect Baba to fulfill any of your happiness things, or peace things. But I, I, uh, I, I want to. This is going to sound weird. I've got it. I want to tell this story. I think Tony brought it up for me, but a few weeks ago, it might have been 2 months ago, could have been that far back. But was determined to finish Sheila's and David's book on growing up with God. I read it once and I thought, I'm not sure I finished it. So I started like a quarter way through and read it all. Hey, by the way, there's a guy just appeared on the screen he and I heard of Baba together. His name is David Bradley. He's down there in the bottom in a wicker chair against a white wall. And that guy, I have told more people about him than anybody other person in my life because it's such a connection for us. But anyway, so 2 months ago, I about finished the book, and I have had very few real hardcore dream visions like Tony was talking about. Mine tend to be a little more shadowy and whatnot. I've never dreamed of Baba or anything like that. But all of a sudden, I was about finished with Sheila's book, and I absolutely, there is no question about it. I was dreaming, and suddenly Sheila's face appeared. And I, why would I dream of Sheila? I could, it was hard to believe. And her face appeared, and there was someone behind her. And I don't know if it was like Baba or whatever, but I couldn't tell. And she said, "You will not achieve what you want in the mastery of consciousness." That was her message to me. And I think it's pertinent because I think somewhere in my psyche, that's been kind of a driver for me, you know, like a software driver. Like, you have to have consciousness of, you know, God or something, maybe the first plane, I'll settle for that. But she just flat told me, I mean, it's clear, like I'm talking to you, you will not achieve mastery of a consciousness or something like that, you know. And I know that, man, this was straight out of the book. I mean, so now I've reduced to just going, well, like Jeff said, terra firma, you know, it's like all I got. So like this week, I'm running flat, you know. It's like, I've been trying to read Infinite Intelligence, and that's my one fascination. I think that book is like eating chocolate cake or carrot cake. It's just every paragraph, every 2 pages, it's like, oh my God. And I think that might be as close as I get to mastery and consciousness. Anyway, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Yeah. Anyone else want to venture out? I mean, it's incredible. Oh, good. It's incredible how what Baba has done in us. If it's possible to kind of remember clearly where you were and where you are now.
Radha? Radha?
I want to respond to Tina. Tina, I think your honesty about where you are is such a beautiful thing, really. It reminds me of that story, you know, how Eruch, well, first of all, I think of that one of my favorite scriptures was always, though I have the wings of an eagle, I can run and not grow weary, or walk and not faint. And I think there are times in our lives when we're just trying to walk and not faint. And Eruch kind of elaborates on that notion, you know, when he talks about how if you can't walk, then you crawl, and then you just be there. And, you know, he said, and then maybe at some point you realize that Baba's been carrying you the whole way. That doesn't mean we feel that. I think I guess that's all I want to say. I don't want to give you advice or assume anything that I would say could help you, but I do think your honesty is really beautiful.
Great. Yeah. And oh, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of. I just saying that Tina, you're not the only one who is speaking this way. These are rough times, and if you don't have Baba people, you know, some people that you can connect with intimately at a deeper level around you, it can be difficult to find. You can drift into deeper moods that are hard to get out of. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Go ahead. Yeah, Tina, I was thinking about you as well and what you said. And I have a quote for you from Baba. Baba says, "The surroundings and circumstances in which you find yourself are best suited to work out your destiny or to exhaust your past karma." Jai Baba. Shall I read that again?
Yeah.
Baba says, "The surroundings and circumstances in which you find yourself are best suited to work out your destiny or to exhaust your past karma." So I don't know what
Thanks, Rohit.
you're welcome. I don't know what you're going through, Tina, but hang in there. And I know that Baba will never let you fall. He'll take you to the edge, maybe, but he'll never let you fall.
Yeah. Well, my son has not spoken to me in over 2 years. He won't let me see my grandson.
Mm.
I lost a large amount of money from a scammer stealing my life savings.
Well,
And
That's
now
difficult.
I'm suffering digestive problems.
Mm.
and your bank won't reimburse you for whatever you lost
No,
up to two. Really?
Mm.
they're still investigating.
Oh my God.
That's hard.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, they are really clever nowadays.
Janet.
Yeah, well, my I am also responding to Tina, but I'm responding with my own experience. When I came to Baba, it wasn't a picnic. Baba found me, and I did not have any honeymoon. I mean, but what I realized was true, even though 15 years, I'm sorry to say, of not every moment was difficult, but the overall flavor of life compared to my growing up was extremely difficult. And yeah, in just more ways than I want to even relate, but just use your imagination. And these were the people who told me about Baba that were so their behavior in life was very much not tuned in to Baba's point of view, to the point that I learned about Baba in 1969. My first trip to Myrtle Beach was in 19, I think either 86 or 87. And it wasn't till then that I realized that Baba was love. So what I'm saying this for is what I've realized, and recently it's become even clearer through various incidences of my life, that Baba was with me the whole time. I did not stick to Baba. Baba stuck to me. And and so how that has progressed through the years then, it, up until the present moment, that I feel that, I mean, and I'm not saying that after that my life became easy, because that would be a lie. But I mean, it wasn't really. It became easier. Let's put it that way. But I'm realizing that my life was like Goher's quote of Baba's, that it in some I don't know that, but I trust it. I mean, there's a piece of me that said to myself, "Oh my God, Janet, what was your karma like that you walked into that rat's nest?" And I don't know, and I don't anticipate that I will know in this life, and maybe ever. But I I have my Baba's closeness to me has increased to the point where and that closeness, it doesn't mean that suddenly, I'm also getting older. Not quite as old as Jeff, but almost. Anyway, I'm kidding, Jeff. I'm not kidding about the age,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying. There's things that come up that but how Baba is with me is that he carries me into it with more of a buoyed spirit. My spirit, he buoys up my spirit, even through difficult times. And so his presence is woven more deeply into my experience of life. And of course, I do all the effort and grace, remembering him 4 times a day, and dressing my soul, and giving the day to him, and giving the morning to him, and all of those things, and saying my prayers, but I live in a little bit of a vacuum. People know I know about Baba, but I'm not. I mean, they know I'm into Baba and I speak about it freely, but the people I'm around on a regular basis are not other people into Baba. But I would say at this point, Baba's into me. For this, I'm not saying every moment is like a bliss, because it isn't, but I know if even if he goes away, he's coming back. So it's been over 50 years, 55 years, and he's never left, even though I haven't always felt him, not even close. But at this particular moment, this right now moment, I do feel him. So I guess I'm just saying trust. And I'm saying that to myself. I'm not saying that to anyone else, but it's a journey. And where all of our journeys, I think, look different. And I know Goher has spoken about her journey, and that journey wasn't always a piece of cake either. And we all, I think, no one that I know that reaches, their mid-70s and is with unscathed, Baba or no Baba.
Beautifully said, really. It's, yeah, there was a Westerner that came to Mani kind of depressed and said, what she was going through, and Mani said, don't forget, it all has a happy ending. If we can just bear it. Or like that quote of Baba's that's been floating around recently, I tell you, don't worry, be happy. Why? Because I know the ending, and the ending is beautiful. But
Tony?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to say that could be helpful for you, Tina, but it did remind me of long periods that I had gone through, feeling the darkness kind of, and during that time I really clung for a decade or more to one of the ghazals in In Dust I Sing, which I'd like to read. Seeing us downcast, the master said, 12 years of depression isn't much of a price to pay for the glance of my mood that will reveal to you the beginning of the way. First, there are 12 years of bright hope, then 12 of despair, then 12 during which the light grows. Put in round figures 40 years all told, a drop of time as far as existence goes. Do not be like the children of Moses in the wilderness, always complaining. Complaint makes the feet lead, turns greenness into desert, even while it is raining. Consider the long toil, millions of years of it, of evolution's grim gradients, from stone to a rose, from rose to an eye carved out of stone to see love's radiance. I assure you there will come the day when both enthusiasm and disgust will seem but the last vestiges of vague volumes of some long-forgotten dream. Or take it from another angle. Men spend 40 years merely cataloging words, objects, conditions, music making, poetizing, or just money hogging. What I mean to say is, 40 years is the usual price to pay for any success. So don't be complaining like Moses' children in the manna-dropping wilderness. And for me, that I used to calculate the years, and if I figured if I started from 1970, the first 12 years went up to 82, then the next went up to 94, and the next for 2006, and if you made it 40, it was like 2010. And now, for the first time, when I look at those, I can see that those stages happened. They definitely did happen, but I clung to that because it was clear that there was no way to change what I was feeling during those times, and the despair, and even when the light begins to grow, that's it's nice, but the other stuff is there. So I don't know what to say to help, but we all somehow, God willing, get through these times. And Baba is there to preparing us to open the way to the light to him. So that trust helps, I think. It helped me.
And a beautiful poem, too.
Yeah.
Aha.
Peter.
For what I've heard so far, a story came to my mind that speaks volumes to this, and it's something I'd almost like to be reminded as a mantra. I'm just looking for the page right now. Okay, the story is called, it's a short story. It's called Baba Knows Best. On many occasions, Baba lovers who have been in Baba's contact for a long time, including some of those who even had Baba's physical darshan, were tested and tried through overwhelming misfortunes. Some of these tragedies were so immensely great that one's heart reached out and felt empathy for the people involved. Some of them would bravely accept it, while others felt confused, even though their faith and love for Baba remained intact. On one occasion, a Baba lover couple were seated with Eruch along with their child. The child was sweet looking but badly handicapped. The couple were fortunate to have had Baba's darshan. Eruch, standing is the only way I know how to do this right now. Eruch, as usual, inquired about everyone's health in the family and finally pointed to the child, asking how the child was progressing. The couple informed Eruch about the progress of the child. Wait, I'm going to sit down. Maybe this will be a little bit quasi better. Eruch, as usual, inquired about everyone's health in the family and finally pointed to the child, asked how the child was progressing. The couple informed Eruch about the progress of the child since they had last visited Medazad. The trials and tribulations were many, and as they were narrating it, You could feel the pain in their hearts. We were all listening silently. After narrating everything, the husband asked Eruch, after giving our all to Baba, after so many years of just living for him, I can never understand why Baba puts my child through so much suffering. Eruch kept quiet for a very long time. It was as if through the silence, he was feeling the couple's pain. Then he turned to the couple and spoke very forcefully. Know for sure that he has nothing but the very best interest of the soul when he decided to give that suffering. Have no doubt whatsoever in your mind. Nothing but the very best he has in mind for that soul. We were all very quiet when Eruch finished. The power and authority with which he said this was so overwhelming that nothing more was needed to be said on the subject.
Beautiful. Wow. Great. Thank you. That was, Peter, that was perfect for what we're talking about. Well, maybe I'll jump in here a little bit. Most of my worst times were before I came to Baba. And I mean, I grew up in the Northwest. I had a very idyllic childhood that went on forever. I wasn't raised in any religion. My folks didn't expose us to it, but after church, when all the families came home, all the kids came over to our place because we were very fun-loving and inclusive, and our house was the center of the neighborhood. My only exposure to religion was between the summer between my third and fourth grade. My brother and I went out to the Midwest, from Washington State to the Midwest, where we to be with my mother's parents. Oh, wait 1 second. Someone is walkie-talking me.
Hey, go here. Why don't you pick up the slack? You do it. Go here.
My goodness.
I want to hear the call from the mothership. Just kidding.
No,
Okay.
oh, I think he's coming back. Well, I don't know. I mean, what can I say? We all go through these hard times. It's what we bring to ourselves, as Baba reminds us, and that's worth keeping in mind. And if we can just dissociate from what we're going through and, take ourselves away from it and look at it, try to look at it from a different perspective, then we can sometimes begin to see how this is actually benefiting us. In a way, it's teaching us. So, but I know it's difficult. It's not easy when you're actually going through an experience as hard as what Tina is going through right now. It's not easy, but to keep Baba with you constantly is what will carry you through. That's all I can say for sure. Yeah, it's not easy. Sometimes you really, really feel so low, so let down, so dejected, rejected. Been there, done that so many times over. But yet, here I am. And it's like Tony said, you go through these phases, and it's true. You go through a phase where it's very hard. You go through another phase where the light starts to dawn, and then you come to the phase where, with Baba's blessing, I find myself so fortunate and feel so blessed every single day of my life that, you know, I find myself thanking him over and over and over again for every little thing. So anyway, Jeff is back, so I'll hush up.
Yeah, I'm at work, unfortunately. So anyway, in the summer between my third and fourth grade, my brother and I went out from Washington State to the Midwest to spend the summer with my mother's parents. My grandfather was an atheist, but my grandmother was very devoted to Jesus, had very kindly and had a personal relationship. And my brother and I wound up going to church. We had never been in such a solemn, serious place before, and we did everything we could to keep from laughing in there. It was painful not to laugh, especially when some of these old ladies sang. Anyway, it was not we were very informal in our household. But anyway, when I came back, I felt Jesus watching me wherever I went. All around me, he was watching me, and he was so loving. There was no disapproval at all. There was no Satan. There was no heaven or hell. These things that my friends had told me. But I didn't mention it, I didn't mention it to anybody because they'd been going to church, so I figured they had this experience. But then, as the year fourth grade wore on, I would feel Jesus watching me on the way to school, out on the playground, and all of that. And then, but eventually, I got into school and sports and studies and everything, and I totally forgot about it until years later. At 18, I went off to college to New York City, which was a great shock to me. I mean, the way people, that's where Tina lives. I mean, they're rough characters, but many loving people I discovered in New York, but my initial response was rough, the fast pace and everything like that. But anyway, I had, like, say, my childhood was from the heart. Then I got kind of naively enamored of learning and culture, and I studied and all of that, and poetry and history and philosophy, all of that. And but then after a couple of years, I'm getting around to my depression. I didn't find anything. It awakened my inquiring mind, but then I couldn't get any answer. And I became very obsessed, what is the purpose of life? I mean, I just couldn't go on unless I knew what I was here for. And now I was kind of half in my heart, half in my mind. And my buddies and I knew we had to experience the purpose of life. And you have to be deeper in your heart, I think, to get that experience. So most of them went and got into drugs. I became very depressed. I could not find, what am I here for? I could get a college degree, and I could get a good job, get married, get a house, have kids, wave the kids off to college, play with my grandkids, get a good pension and die. I mean, I had to know. And I could not get it. And so I got to a point where I was sleeping 20 hours a day. I was so depressed. People kind of helped me out even with that. And eventually, at one point, the whole world became two-dimensional. It was horrible. I should have gone to a psychiatrist and got some help, but I was it wasn't my nature to do that. But it was hell, and I thought, how did I come from this heavenly childhood to such a horrible state? And anyway, I won't bore you with that, but I dropped out of school. I fled to California. I hung out with my 3 nephews and my niece, and very gradually I got out of this state. And a year and a half later, I went back to college. And on this occasion, this is the fall of 1967, I came into, I could not find a place to live. You know, the university, all of the apartments were taken, and I found myself sleeping in the dorm lounges and trying to escape the security guards. You know, I was drifting around, I didn't have a place to stay and everything. But eventually I found a place that was 3 miles away. I mean, I didn't have a vehicle or anything. 3 miles away, a room was, someone advertised a room. But the moment I went into that apartment, I began having kind of an inner awakening. I mean, it was like no reason for it. I called my state the state of happiness for no reason. And I had no idea how this all happened. And I did kind of come to feel that we all have a divine destiny. I mean, I experienced that. But then 15 years later, I'm moving 15 years later, Tex Hightower and I are in the original kitchen having lunch. And we're talking about, because he lived in New York there. And it turned out that his apartment was this far away from my apartment. So he had been with Baba since the 40s and, you know, his Baba life. So I was getting his life with Baba coming through the walls and, you know, basically a contact high, you might say. But anyway, so in the January of 68, a guy in an art class told me about Baba. I went to my first Baba meeting, the Monday night meeting in New York. And that, I've shared that with you before, but at the end of that meeting, they had a 3-minute silence, and they asked us to think of Baba, who was in India. And I closed my eyes, and I thought, I don't even know who he is. I wasn't told. So I just opened my eyes, and I saw the people in the room, mainly older people, and then I looked up, and there was a photograph of Baba, and the eyes came alive. And the love in Baba's eyes, it was the love I suspected was at the core of all of life. I knew there had to be love behind this mess, so to speak. And he began looking at everybody in the room. They all had their eyes closed. And then very soon I was face to face with Baba. He allowed me to look into his eyes, and there was no bottom to the love in his eyes. It was like I was looking from the world of time and space through this window into eternity. You know, so when I came out of there, after that, down on the streets of Manhattan, I felt Baba watching me, just like I finally came back to. I had totally forgot about that experience in 4th grade, and there was Baba watching me from all around me, and I knew that from that Baba had been Jesus, even before I read that. But so now, this is where a number of themes emerge, and I'm just going to take one of them, and that is this: that I instantly knew that Baba was God, but I was actually not. I was more drawn to Baba the man, I think, like most of us, and I wanted to find out. I wanted his companionship. And I wanted to know, I wanted to take the presence that I was feeling, which went on, and clothe it with Baba's personality. And luckily, the people after the Monday night meeting, they would go across to this Horn and Hard Art cafeteria, and we'd push tables together, and we'd have coffee and dessert. And then these people would start talking about Baba. Now I didn't realize almost all of them had met Baba, either in the 50s or 60s, or some of them had been with Baba since the 30s. So I got to eavesdrop on these stories, these are firsthand stories. They had, Baba's humor, how Baba came to them in some of their lowest moments, how he looked after their kids, how he helped them with their work. It's like somebody tells you about someone they love for weeks and weeks, and when you finally meet them, you already kind of know them. You know, they've spoken so much. So I I had that wonderful experience of absorbing that, and it was just right up my alley. Then a while later, I lived up. I just by chance, seemingly, I lived up near Darwin and Gene Shaw. Now they had met Baba back in the '30s, so they was shared those times, and that was when Baba was like Jesus. So that opened up a whole other aspect of my relationship with Baba. And then they encouraged us to go to India. So in India, all of us, when we first went there, we went around with our begging bowls, you know. Oh, tell us this. And we were gathering stories right and left. If someone in Ahmednagar had heard of Baba, we'd be there with our begging bowls to hear from them. So gathered tremendous amount. I'm talking about, this is kind of my evolution, you might say. Then I started working here at the center. And the beautiful thing about the center is I would see, as a front row seat, I would see how people were when they first came. They might be exhausted or at a crossroads. They might have just gotten fired from their job or going through a divorce. They might have found that their daughter is on drugs or something. And I see them as they come, and then day by day, how Baba enters into their lives and helps them. So by the time they leave, they have at least some solid step, the next step to take. So I got to see not only just how Baba related to me, but how he related to others. So that expanded for me who Baba is. So anyway, so saying kind of where I am now, I would say, like most of us, I think we feel a great gratitude, you know, for this life. How did we, I mean, I think, how did I stumble in on this? I mean, it certainly didn't, I don't feel I deserved it. This has been a gift. And I mean, back in my most depressed days, I would never have dreamed of this life. And in more recent years, you know, I followed up on what Mani used to say. You have to see things through Baba's eyes. And I mentioned this before, I didn't realize there was such an option. But I worked on that. And occasionally when, in my better moments, I see things through Baba's eyes, and Mara also, because she's come in, and Baba's much more, so profoundly, I mean, what can I say? How he feels about the little things we do, it means the world to him. Even if you put your little Baba card on your dashboard, or you ask Baba to help when you go in for a job interview, or, you know, all these little things, every once in a while I get a glimpse of how Baba feels about these, not how Jeff Wolverton feels. I mean, a lot of these things are routine for us, and they mean the world to Baba. And we are much more loved by him than I can experience, but I see that. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at now, kind of grateful, and I'm getting a little bit more away from seeing just through the lens of myself, and seeing through a wider lens, so to speak. Anyway, that is it. I see Dinku is there. From,
Jai, Jai Baba, everyone.
yeah, Jai Baba Dinku, yeah.
Uh, Baba has changed my life so incredibly. I mean, from what I was to what I am now, it's almost totally opposite. I used to be a very impatient, irritable kind of a person, and he brought certain people into my life, which would keep pushing my buttons. They still do. But I've learned to cope with Baba's help, and I am more at peace with myself. And he's helped me in so many ways. I'm so thankful to him. And thanks to Baba Zoom, it's helped me even much, much more. Not only that, but Baba brought, I guess I didn't learn my lessons so well until Baba brought my dog Rocky into my life for a very short period. But that dog taught me so much, and I know it was Baba's doing, and I'm ever so grateful for that. And I thank all of you, and thank Baba, of course, for this. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Dinku. Dinku lives near where Manzili Meme was, Baba's first ashram there in Mumbai. Looks like, well, let me just see. Let me first see if there's anybody that feels like sharing who hasn't yet. Let me see here. And you can say, and you can pass. Don't feel that you have to. How about Deborah Lessing? Anything you would like to say how your life has been transformed by Baba?
Oh, Jeff, thank you. I can't think of anything to say right now, so I think I'll pass. But I
Okay.
really am appreciating listening to everybody's stories.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. What about Radha?
Well, I think I've got lots of stories, but I'm thinking about the biggest change in me right now. I think I've always felt the presence of God from the time I was really little. It's just always been who I am. And when I was raised as a Christian, I would constantly say to Jesus, why couldn't I have been alive when you were alive? It's not fair. I should have been alive when you were alive. And then when I was working in the theater in Louisville, I went into Tim and Buck Busfield's apartment, and there was that giant picture of Baba in his 30s. And I fell on the floor and sobbed when I saw Baba's picture. Wow. And that was a pretty big mystery to me, because I felt I had Jesus, and I'm like, what's happening? So through Buck and Tim, and I learned, I think Buck started giving me some books, and I started reading about Baba's words. And Baba has come to me at different points in my life where things have been very painful, and made it really clear that I was exactly where I needed to be. So I feel really blessed by all of that. But still, I always felt I loved Baba, and that Baba loved me. But I think the biggest change that's happened to me lately is very connected to having read Effort and Grace. I always felt I was the one that had to solve the problems of my life, or the problems in my life were a result of my inadequacies. And I realize now, through having gone the ups and the downs of my life, that I really enjoy, if I reach a place mentally where I'm trying to figure out something that I don't know the answer to, I just love saying, Baba, you take care of it.
Beautiful.
I really love saying that. And I say it more and more and more, because when I do, it gives me that perspective we were talking about earlier. Go ahead, you were talking about that perspective of just going, well, I don't know how to solve this, but Baba says he likes to solve it. And I'm going to really believe that on a deep level. And there's just been such incredible healing and beauty and love that's come forth. And I hope I can do that more and more and more. So that's the biggest change, I think.
You know, it reminds me of something Eruch used to say in Mandalay Hall. He used to say, you Westerners, when you come up against an obstacle in your path, you make these Herculean efforts to surmount and rise up and get to the other side. In the East, when we find an obstacle in our path, we fall at his feet.
Wow.
That's kind of, and boy,
love
we've
that.
all done the psychological route or whatever,
Right.
the self-help approach. But yeah, you reach a point where, yeah, what you say, Baba and Mara, help. That's been my prayer, help. H-E-L-P. Anyone,
Rich.
There's three things on my mind, actually. One was, Jeff, if you ever get around to it, it'd be fascinating to hear how you developed personal friendships while you were working on the center over the years. Because I remember Anne real well and a few others, Barbara Katzenberg and everything. But you must have had lots of experience with Baba developing personal relationships. And I haven't had much of that, to be blunt. But I also wanted to say, on the screen, there's two people that one is Francesca Estevez. And for years, I kept thinking, when I was at the center, when I was in New York, I kept, once in a while, she and I would do something together. And we went to one of the Monday night meetings together, I know, maybe two. And I kept thinking over the years, who was that girl? She was so cute and smart. And somehow through Tony, I think, I suddenly got into a couple of message chats with her. And she lives, I think, down in New Mexico, I think she said. And the other one is Dave on the screen. He's right next to Francesca. But Dave has been, I was saying this before, but I know people are reluctant to volunteer and show up and talk and all, but Dave has been, he has a kind of an interesting, great story of an adventure with Baba. But it was Dave and another couple of people and I that heard about Baba from Rick Chapman and Alan Cohen at an anti-drug talk. But anyway, I had to mention those two. But the one other thing is that over the years of many, many, many years, I'm exactly what you said, Jeff, about Eruch. I have tried to, well, what I need is a really good ego. I need to be somebody, I need to fix that, to adjust that. And I need a good ego. But in the last few years, I've really surrendered more, Jeff. You're right, to no, that's not what this is about. I've got to cooperate with Baba and try to let go of these sanskaras and not become somebody, but to do what's in the discourses, which is allow Baba, like you said, Jeff, to become the driver of my car. But it's really hard for me. I really struggle. Thank you.
yeah, that's, hey, David, you're welcome to share anything, but don't feel at all you have to.
Well, let me share a little bit just to introduce myself. I feel like Baba's been in some way part of my life for a long, long time, probably specifically starting with a flight I took when I was 3 years old, and I flew right over just between Florida and Pittsburgh. And it was just, I looked on the calendar in my mom's diary, and we were flying over right about when Baba's car was coming back from Prague. Obviously, I wasn't aware of that, but it felt like there's always been connections with Baba in many ways. And it feels like Baba's interwoven into my life in many, many ways. But I would say that I've also had a lot of struggles. Early on, I went to Darshan and I was kind of ticked off that everybody was so happy all the time. Everybody was Jai Baba, and giving each other hugs. And I was like, in a certain amount of shock because I wasn't sure I was really a Baba lover and did I really belong there. And I went to a struggle with Baba, and Baba kept saying, "Don't let go of my dominance." So I figured, well, I have to let go of his dominance at some point because he said not to. It's this kind of ornery side of myself, and so I didn't completely leave Baba, but I sort of thought, well, Baba said it was okay to be a Christian, so I'll just be a Christian for a while. And I spent about a number of years doing that, and teaching Sunday school, and even gave a passing thought to becoming a deacon in the Episcopal Church. And then in 2003, I got leukemia, and I went to a therapist, a holistic therapist, and she said I should meditate. And I didn't hesitate. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I contacted my old friend Alan Wagner, who was in India. He'd been the best man at my wedding. And I asked him what I should do, and he said, you should come to India. I hadn't been to any Baba meetings. I hadn't been to Myrtle Beach in years. I hadn't been anywhere, but I thought that's a good idea. And I got a hold of the discourses, and I was totally unaware of books like Lord Mayher, but I got a hold of discourses and a big Baba picture and meditated on Baba and followed the little things on meditation and the discourses. And went to India, and somewhere up on the road up from Mumbai to Pune, I met my first Baba lover I'd seen in like 15 years or something in a coffee shop. And it felt like it was right back the way it had been. It felt like Baba had been there the whole time. It felt like it was an illusion that I'd sort of gotten away from Baba because he'd been there the whole time. And it did lead to some interesting experiences in Sunday school and other things, and I could talk about those someday. But anyway, I feel like gradually, then since then, it's been a matter of just accepting the fact that Baba kind of marked me out a long time ago, and I'm one of his, I think. And there's no way I could live my life without that at this point. There's no way I could. I like to think there's no way I could let go of the dominant anymore. I couldn't go through any of that because Baba's interwoven in everything all the time.
You know, your voice sounds a little bit like Alan Wagner.
Ah,
Maybe it's a
Yeah.
Denver accent or a Colorado
maybe so.
accent.
Maybe so. Yeah, we're friends in Boulder in the early '70s, and before I went to India. Well, that's enough for now.
Okay, thank you.
Tony,
Well, let's go first. Let's go with Betty because Tony is. Wait, let's go for it, Betty.
This topic was interesting. I didn't want to tell my whole story, but to say that, but I heard somebody say he well, you just when you think you've got it figured out, just when you are feeling kind of even, he ups the ante. And that's sure been true in my life. My self, my 20 something self in 72 could not have handled the challenges that I have today. And I have a feeling it's just going to be like that. But but along with the challenges, and they're intense, and I have plenty of sleepless nights, and worries about how it's all going to come out. I know. Well, being in a Baba Zoom, it's helped me to grow tremendously, and to have faith. I know he'll come through. I know it'll be okay. I don't know how, um, but and things, the challenges just seem to get bigger. But I do know more and more as I come around again to to more. I'm moving now, and that's. I know people move all the time, but it's an incredible challenge for me to pack up my life and move to the next chapter. Um, uh, so that's in a nutshell. Yeah, the challenges get bigger. Well, and you read people like Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross, you think, oh my golly, is that the kind of life? Is that the kind of suffering we can look for? Who knows? Who knows? But I imagine if it is, that we'll have the strength to and goodwill and humor and all the rest of it that it takes to persevere, to be with it, to hang on and persevere. So that's all I wanted to say tonight.
Beautiful. I'm reminded of a line from, I don't know if I've said it here on but from a Sanai, he was a Sufi mystic. As long as I feel you right here with me now, I cannot say I am suffering. I mean, in a way. I mean, if you feel Baba with you, and you can be going through a lot, but what a privilege to feel that he's with us, in spite of. So let's see. What about Goer? Anything you about your early times and how you find things now?
Yeah, so earlier in my younger days, Baba was always there, was always with me, of course, but it was sort of in the background. Whereas now it's more of a conscious feeling, more of knowing that he's with me, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm going. It's just amazing how much I think of him every day, not only, but it's just it's become a natural sort of I can't describe it. It's just a natural feeling, a natural knowing, if you will, that Baba is just with me, and so much so in every aspect. Let's see. I can give you one example. The other day I have a car which is a hybrid, and we were going somewhere, and it's been 17 years now that I've had this car, and one never knows when this hybrid battery is going to give out. Well, we're driving along in the left lane, and all of a sudden the car comes to a complete stall. I mean, no power at all. Danny's like, I can't, there's no power. The car just stalled. There's traffic all around us. All of a sudden, I said, just pull over, try to pull over. We were going towards the left lane. So he pulls into the left lane, thankfully, and he comes to a stop, and he shuts the engine. And the car was stalled anyway. So he just turned the ignition off. And then we just sat there and didn't know what to do. And finally, after a minute, he turns it on. Lo and behold, the car starts up again. So we turn around and we're coming back home. Now he's wondering, how did this happen? The car came to a complete stall. How is it started up again? And we're going back and forth, and he's arguing, and I'm talking, and I'm saying, just drive, go back home. Don't think about anything. You're on a higher power. That's it. You're on a higher power. You're driving on higher power. And so long story short, we come home. So Baba's always with us, always. Oh, I can't say anything more. It's just no matter where I am, if I'm stepping out and enjoying nature, if I'm, whatever, it's a conscious knowing today than it was many years ago when I was younger. So.
Yeah, beautiful. In other words, he was more at the background in your earlier years, and
yes.
Now he's in the foreground, just
Absolutely.
right there. I would
Yes.
say that's true for a lot of us. That's
Yeah.
that evolution.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about Mayor Prasad? Uh-oh. You can
Oh,
pass.
okay. Um, yeah, it's a little bit hard to put everything into, few, compress that into a short time. But I think when I first came to Baba, even though I was born into a Baba family, I really saw him as any other god, meaning that you worship him until in 1993 when Mani was handing out these slips that had Baba messages. And it said, I want you to make me yours as you already eternally are mine. When I saw that message, that's really when I came to him internally, because that message was so personal that it really removed that, worshipping aspect and brought me to him more closely internally. So I was 26 then, I'm 57 now. So to me, the 31 years are really the time that I would look at as then and now. I would say in the initial phases of my honeymoon, I would be really caught up in anything that exposed my weakness, right? So if I fell in my weakness, I was so caught up in it that it really created a distance. I would feel that Baba is away from me whenever I fell in that weakness. Now, I would say the weaknesses are more. Actually, I see more of those coming up. It's like the tip of the iceberg that Baba said in his courses. More and more of those come in, but they are actually exposed especially in the cases where I'm very vulnerable. Like if I'm hanging on to something as a security, Baba takes it away and my weakness gets exposed. But I'm not as caught up because I'm trying to give that to Baba and try to lean on him more and more. Certainly, Effort and Grace and Darwin Shaw's book, As Only God Can Love, and your own example, Jeff, about the spring-loaded plates, all of those definitely helped. And second thing I think is also the realization of his help in my life, in everybody else's life, whether they are Baba lovers or not. I see that more and more, but the understanding of him and his ways have gone down more and more, meaning that I don't understand him now than I did then. So I basically kind of given up on that, so which is probably a good thing. So I think it's a better understanding that I don't understand him than the other way. And I think lastly, which is probably the biggest one, I would say, is I don't think in the initial days I was aware of any desire to please him. Now I'm aware of a desire to please him. Now, what I do with the desire is definitely not what I should be doing, because I don't always please him for sure. A lot of times I please myself, but I'm aware of the desire which was never there. As far as in the beginning stages, I don't remember having that desire. But that desire slowly grows. I think that's really, I would say, the biggest change in the 30 years is that desire.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Kitty was at the Southeast Gathering. This was years ago. And someone asked her, what is the most important thing that you live by for Baba? And it was such a fundamental question, she was like kind of speechless. And then she said, this is, after all those years with Baba, to please him. That was the most important thing for her, to please him in whatever she does. Yeah, that's what she chose. Anyway, we got Tony. That
Hi.
was very nice, Mayor Prasad. That was beautiful.
So Baba has been putting me through a really interesting thing over the last, I don't know, half hour, I guess. I came here tonight. I actually had in mind to share a story which would be meaningful about how Baba pays attention to these chats. And but it had to do with my daughter Clara. And I'd forgotten about it and I suddenly remembered. But because of Tina's everything that she's going through now, I felt really almost callous to bring up a really joyous story about reconciliation with my daughter Clara, and
Ooh,
I was not going to, and but it was like I felt Baba was like pushing, and I said, Baba, she's going to, it might be uncomfortable, or if you want me to tell the story, I'll tell it. And I got very clearly, I want you to tell the story. So when I finally said okay, and I raised my hands, Jeff has been doing a very good job of making sure that everyone had a chance to share. And meanwhile, my ego is now totally embroiled in this. It's the stand up, sit down. I want to share it. I don't want to be insensitive. Baba wants me to share. Baba, I want to do whatever. And finally, I reached the point where I said, to Baba, I'm saying, okay. This is what you, if this is what you want, but whether it is or not, I'm at peace with how you play this. And then you said, finally, then you said, okay, now Tony. So here's what it was. 2
and
weeks ago.
It's interesting because I don't think Tina is here any longer.
Well,
so you won't hurt her feelings by getting a reconciliation.
Well, she might. I saw her peek back on. See, here she comes.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
But
Tina.
it was clearly, and I thought of those things where Baba would chastise Bao. You did this because of so and so's feelings when I asked you to do that, and Baba was clearly asking me to share this story. So Tina and I commiserated for a number of years because I was also, my daughter would not talk to me at all for several years, and during the COVID lockdown, and last year, really thanks to her ex, my grandson's father, and a few others, but they persuaded her to kind of let go. And last year she came for Father's Day, and then she came for my birthday, and gradually, and I'm being so careful to be not the dad that I was, and really attuned and sensitive. And so we've more and more gotten to open up to each other. And she works a lot, so we don't always get to talk. And last chat we had, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I happened to see a photo album that we got someone who's now helping us keep the house clean. And she had found this album, and it was pictures of my trip to India in 1996 when Mani passed. And I showed one picture of Jeff that I saw, but mainly it was me with Clara, and she was having such a wonderful time. And I shared the one picture of her walking and enjoying. She really loved Mansari, and especially Mansari's dogs. And I showed that picture. And I said in passing, I said she was having such a good time. I said she doesn't have much of a conscious relationship with Baba or something to that effect. Well, in retrospect, that really got Baba's attention. The next morning, I had to go for fasting blood work, and I scheduled in Manhattan, and I have a holistic MD, and I was going to have a consult with her the following week or so. So I scheduled them for 1 p.m. because on the blocks adjacent to around the corner from her office, except for Wednesday, Like on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's alternate sides of the street parking. So if you get there at around 12:15 and just park and wait, the spot opens up at 1. So I go just down the block and I get my appointment. Turns out this time I get into the city so quickly, it's not even noon yet. And I thought, let me check 2nd Avenue. And sure enough, there was a meter spot, which is good for 2 hours, which should work for my blood work. I called up. They said, sure, you can come in right now. So when I should have just been getting there, I was leaving at about 1 o'clock. And I got in my car and I took the and I finally was getting off the Long Island Expressway to turn onto Woodhaven Boulevard to make a right to go home. And I'm at that, and there are like 5 or 6 lanes coming off of the LIE at that point. And the farthest lane on the right can only make a right turn. The farthest lane on the left will only make a left turn. And I'm in the farthest lane on the right. They used to be right turn allowed on red. And sometime about a year ago, they changed that. So I'm waiting for the light to change. And I'm on the phone with Zeke, my wife. And suddenly someone is honking me. And they're honking and honking and honking. And I thought, oh, God, somebody thinks you can still turn right on red, and wants me to move. So I look, and it's like, no. It still says no right turn on red. And the honking. And I turn away. Who the F is this? And I look around, and there should have been cars next to me in the next 4 lanes, but there weren't. And in the farthermost lane on the left, it's the car that was honking me. And I hear her shouting. It was Clara. It was my daughter Clara. And then I looked, and on the passenger seat, at first I thought it was her ex. It looked like her ex, but it was my grandson, who is now like 8 feet tall. He's really grown up. And she's shouting that they're going to the mall. And I'm thinking, like, what can I do? She said, you can't make a left turn because of where you... I said, I know. So I made a right, made a U, went down, called her up. They were going to do their taxes at the mall. And I said, can we get together? Hang out a bit. Maybe we have lunch in the food court or go to a restaurant. So I got there, and she was with the tax guy. And I had the best conversation I've had with my grandson ever. He was very quiet when he was younger, and he had just now completely opened. I shared one of my music performances. He's been doing rap performances and hip hop and stuff. And when he was listening to my tape, he's like really getting into it. Clara finishes. We went to Cheesecake Factory. She said, a Baba lover founded that. I said, yeah. And we wound up there for 3 hours and sharing stuff. And even me sharing, like, not about Baba, but about my Baba life. And particularly something having to do with Diane Frolov, who wrote Northern Exposure and used my love life at the time to write a character out of the series. Anyway, we talked about serious issues, and she clearly was connecting with them. And finally, it was time. We had to get back. My grandson has to get up very early for work. We go to the parking area. I was in the E level. She was on the C level, but we're on the same elevator. We take the elevator up. They're getting out. She turns around and gives me the biggest damn hug I've gotten from my daughter Clara in maybe 10 years. And she made a point. It was not that I went to hug her, anything. For us to be at that exact timing, that my appointment had to be off by an hour, everything. And I was immediately aware that Baba said, I'll tell you what her relationship with me is, okay? You can say about her not such a conscious relationship. That's my business. So I was really especially touched that clearly Baba was paying attention to that throwaway thing I said during the chat, and really followed up. And thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Beautiful. And let's hope that happens for Tina. Got to happen one of these days.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's kind of late. Does anybody have a quote here before we have a moment of silence?
I have a quote, Jeff.
Okay.
If you have rock-like faith in God and flame-like love for him, nothing will affect you. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you for all the sharing. And is there any, let's see.
Hey, can we jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
We literally just landed
Yeah.
and put you guys on during the taxi.
Yeah.
And you know, I love this subject. I shared my stuff last week, but
Beautifully, yeah.
something happened on the way home that has never happened for us. We had connected with a woman while waiting in line for the first leg of the journey home. And it was a very nice connection. And then she sat right in front of us. So it made the connection even nicer. And she told us about a great place to eat at Charlotte Airport. And we invited her for lunch. And we couldn't go to that place because it was in a terminal too far away. And we're chatting with her, and we bring up spirit community and things like that. And she asked, what spirit? And Terry said, well, it's Mayor Baba. And she said, I know Mayor Baba.
She read all the books.
She's read all the books. She's read more books than me. God
Wow.
speaks, everything. She said he is absolutely Avatar. And, she just, it was just so amazing to have someone talk to us as if they were in these squares. And it was truly, truly magical. And so I heard Goher talking about that Baba is always with us. And he certainly made this trip with many, many connections and many pieces of the puzzle the most fluid and loving 10 days we've ever had. And I had done a lot of talking with Baba to make it easy and loving, and it exceeded my expectations. So I just wanted to share that with you.
And we missed you.
And we missed you, and we didn't want to miss this whole evening, but it is, I don't know how you East Coast people do it. It's 11:30, go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's 11:30 for me.
What makes you think they're not asleep?
Yeah, there we go. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. Yeah, beautiful.
And here's Terry.
Yep. Home sweet home.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm trying to think of, should we have a topic next week, or someone feel like sharing their story of coming to Baba? I don't see any hands go up. Let's see. I'll check the second. Yeah. Anyone kind of feel a little inspired in that direction? I mean, I know that Rich and Bob have shared, and of course Goer over the years has shared.
A lot.
Yeah. And Tony, yeah. Well, we'll just see if any of you kind of get, or any of you kind of get the no pressure at all. Anyway, and Francesca sometime would be interesting to hear her story. Somewhere she's back in there somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, friend.
Welcome, Francesca.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So anyway,
Just if I could
I have
just
a
say one
story.
word.
what's
I
that?
have a story for all Harry Kenmore people.
Yeah.
I've never met Harry, but I did get this periodical. Somebody connected me when Harry was still living that the society put out. It was a printed
The Way in the
brochure.
Goal?
Yeah, yes, that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I think the year was like 72, 3, 4, or 5. And I was in Marizod and working in the little clinic there with Go Hair and early in the earlier years with Lindsay, who became Lindsay Ryder, Lindsay Wetzel Ryder, and then Vesta later. So after that, and Pendu would see the patients in and keep their records and give them a chit or some kind of something to go by, identification. And after clinic had shut down, Pendu would go sit, maybe read the paper, relax. And I'd spend the rest of the day, for the most part, I'd go visit with Mara, you know, oftentimes twice during that day. And otherwise sit with Pendu and talk and sometimes converse, sometimes just listen to him, or sometimes people would be coming by, and I would just share in conversation that they were having with Pendu. And one time it was hot, and even Pendu, he was fanning himself, and had his shirt up, you know, bare his chest, bare skin. It was hot. And I sort of dozed off to sleep, sort of asleep. And then I had this like super conscious thing happen, And what I heard was this man's voice. But it was like you couldn't say it was within me or outside of me. It just was. And what it was saying, pop, pop, pop. I can't give the emphasis or the intonation or the sound of it. But I said, I know who that is that I'm hearing, Harry Kenmore. And he was deceased at the time. And he's calling Baba. He's calling on Baba. And my eyes were open at that point, and I looked at Pendu. Pendu just sort of glanced at me, and I thought then I got my chance to meet Harry in a sense that was a little surreal, but quite real, and went to the heart.
Yeah, that was his name for Baba was Pops.
For Bob
Call him
Pop,
Pops. Yeah.
Pop, by Pop,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, well, I think we better disappear here from the screen. But thank you all for sharing. Beautiful.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Much, much love. And JC, I'll see you
Yes,
soon. I don't know when you're arriving, but
on 10th.
on the 10th. Okay.
Jeff, I was going to tell a little quick story. I was thinking of it earlier, but I forgot. I've had cataract surgery on both eyes, and they do it separately, you know, one eye and then another time another eye. So the first time I went in there, they have amazing drugs nowadays, and they can bring you in and out of kind of conscious awareness. I mean, it's amazing what they're capable of. So I'm lying back there, and of course they vacuum out the old lens, the organic lens, and then they slip a plastic one in. And I think what the surgeon, the eye doctor, he's a great guy. What he does is he makes sure that it's exactly in its right place. So they sort of wake you up, and he says, "Can you see? Does it look okay?" But they don't bring you to full consciousness. But anyway, so on the way up, I heard myself talking when he was starting to wake me up, and I clearly I was looking straight up, and this is no joke. It's one of the very rare moments in my life. But as I looked up, I saw Baba sitting in a chair up there, like he was in and I swear to God, I'm looking up there, and it's like Baba, and I'm saying Baba's name, and the doctor later asked me. He said, "I heard you talking about this guy." That's the only. It was the weirdest experience, you know. It never ever has ever happened like that. I've never had anything like that. It's a weird thing, though. I mean, I was looking straight up, and they brought me into consciousness, and there's Baba, and so I say, "Hello, Baba." You know, it's like.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It was unreal.
That's really removing the cataracts.
Yeah, really. That's
Big
really
time. we better get that guy's name.
You accidentally opened your third eye, looks like.
Yeah, yeah, right. Anyway, I will see you guys.
Okay, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Night.